Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
The act of emitting, causing to flow forth. A substance that is emitted or released. Any of several bodily processes by which substances go out of the body. The occurrence of a flow of water, as from a pipe. The release of electrons from parent atoms. Theology, the origination of the Holy Spirit at Pentecost. The emanation of the Holy Spirit. The act of emitting, causing to flow forth. Something that is emitted or radiated, as a gas or an odor or a light, etc. Remove, cargo, people, etc., from and leave. Electrical conduction through a gas in an applied electric field. Free from obligations or duties. Go off or discharge. Eliminate, a substance. The termination of someone's employment, leaving them free to depart. Pronounce not guilty of criminal charges. Cause to go off. Release from military service. A substance that is emitted or released. Any of several bodily processes by which substances go out of the body. The discharge of pus. The act of discharging a gun. The act of venting. The pouring forth of a fluid. Become empty or void of its content. A formal written statement of relinquishment. Complete or carry out. Discharge one's duties. Pour forth or release. Discharge liquids. Remove the charge from. The sudden giving off of energy. Any of several bodily processes by which substances go out of the body. The act of coming, or going, out, becoming apparent. Come out of. Astronomy, the reappearance of a celestial body after an eclipse. The becoming visible. The act of coming, or going, out, becoming apparent. The act of emerging. The gradual beginning or coming forth. Figurines presage the emergence of sculpture in Greece. The becoming visible. Not a day's difference between the emergence of the andrinas and the opening of the willow catkins. The act of coming, or going, out, becoming apparent. Artifact made by weaving or felting or knitting or crocheting natural or synthetic fibers. She measured off enough material for a dress. Having substance or capable of being treated as fact, not imaginary. Having material or physical form or substance. The tangible substance that goes into the makeup of a physical object. Coal is a hard black material. A person judged suitable for admission or employment. He was university material. Concerned with or affecting physical is distinct from intellectual or psychological well-being. Material needs. Concerned with worldly rather than spiritual interests. Material possessions. Derived from or composed of matter. The material universe. Directly relevant to a matter, especially a law case. His support made a material difference. Information, data or ideas or observations, that can be used or reworked into a finished form. The archives provided rich material for a definitive biography. Things needed for doing or making something. Writing materials. Informal terms for personal possessions. Overeat or eat immodestly, make a pig of oneself. She stuffed herself at the dinner. Fill with a stuffing while cooking. Have you stuffed the turkey yet? Senseless talk. Don't give me that stuff. Obstruct. My nose is all stuffed. The tangible substance that goes into the makeup of a physical object. Wheat is the stuff they use to make bread. Press or force. A critically important or characteristic component. Suspense is the very stuff of narrative. Cram into a cavity. The child stuffed candy into his pockets. Fill tightly with a material. Stuff a pillow with feathers. Information in some unspecified form. It was stuff I had heard before. Miscellaneous unspecified objects. The trunk was full of stuff. Treat with grease, fill, and prepare for mounting. Stuff a bearskin. Unspecified qualities required to do or be something. The stuff of heroes. An organic process that takes place in the body. An organic process that takes place in the body. Respiratory activity. The state of being active. His sphere of activity. The trait of being active, moving or acting rapidly and energetically. The level of activity declines with age. A process existing in or produced by nature, rather than by the intent of human beings. Volcanic activity. Any specific behavior. They avoided all recreational activity. Chemistry, the capacity of a substance to take part in a chemical reaction. Catalytic activity. An organic process that takes place in the body. An organic process that takes place in the body. Designed or arranged to offer the least resistance to fluid flow. The motion characteristic of fluids, liquids or gases. Something that resembles a flowing stream in moving continuously. The museum had planned carefully for the flow of visitors. Fall or flow in a certain way. Her long black hair flowed down her back. The monthly discharge of blood from the uterus of non-pregnant women from puberty to menopause. The semen begins to appear in males and to be emitted at the same time of life that the catamenia begin to flow in females. Move or progress freely as if in a stream. The crowd flowed out of the stadium. The amount of fluid that flows in a given time. Dominant course, suggestive of running water, of successive events or ideas. The flow of thought. The motion characteristic of fluids, liquids or gases. Undergo menstruation. The act of flowing or streaming, continuous progression. Move along, of liquids. Water flowed into the cave. Any uninterrupted stream or discharge. Be abundantly present. The champagne flowed at the wedding. Cause to flow. The artist flowed the washes on the paper. Cover or swamp with water. Part with a possession or right. let something fall or spill from a container. Music, the act or manner of terminating a musical phrase or tone. A device that when pressed will release part of a mechanism. Activity that frees or expresses creative energy or emotion. The act of liberating someone or something. Grant freedom to, free from confinement. Make assets available. Release the holdings in the dictator's bank account. Release, as from one's grip. Release, gas or energy, as a result of a chemical reaction or physical decomposition. A legal document evidencing the discharge of a debt or obligation. The act of allowing a fluid to escape. Prepare an issue for public distribution or sale. Eliminate a substance. The plant releases a gas. The termination of someone's employment, leaving them free to depart. Make information available for publication. Release the list with the names of the prisoners. An announcement distributed to members of the press in order to supplement or replace an oral presentation. Euphemistic expressions for death. Generate and separate from cells or bodily fluids. Release a hormone into the bloodstream. A formal written statement of relinquishment. A process that liberates or discharges something. There was a sudden release of oxygen. Merchandise issued for sale or public showing, especially a record or film. A new release from the London Symphony Orchestra. The act of venting. The spontaneous emission of a stream of particles or electromagnetic rays in nuclear decay. Syndrome resulting from exposure to ionizing radiation, e.g., exposure to radioactive chemicals or to nuclear explosions. Low doses cause diarrhea and nausea and vomiting and sometimes loss of hair. Greater exposure can cause sterility and cataracts and some forms of cancer and other diseases. Severe exposure can cause death within hours. He was suffering from radiation. Medicine, the treatment of disease, especially cancer, by exposure to a radioactive substance. A radial arrangement of nerve fibers connecting different parts of the brain. Energy that is radiated or transmitted in the form of rays or waves or particles. The act of spreading outward from a central source. The spread of a group of organisms into new habitats. A substance that oozes out from plant pores. The process of exuding. The slow escape of liquids from blood vessels through pores or breaks in the cell membranes. A foul-smelling outflow or vapor, especially a gaseous waste. Release, a liquid, in drops or small quantities. A substance that oozes out from plant pores. Rhubarb. A watery discharge from the mucous membranes, especially from the eyes or nose. A substance that transutes. A substance that transutes. The process of exuding. The slow escape of liquids from blood vessels through pores or breaks in the cell membranes. Discharge of secretions from the cervical glands of the vagina, normally clear or white. An amount of time. A time period of 30 years. The monthly discharge of blood from the uterus of non-pregnant women from puberty to menopause. A unit of geological time during which a system of rocks formed. Ganoid fishes swarmed during the earlier geological periods. A punctuation mark, placed at the end of a declarative sentence to indicate a full stop or after abbreviations. In England, they call a period a stop. Ice hockey, one of 3 divisions into which play is divided in hockey games. The end or completion of something. Death put a period to his endeavors. The interval taken to complete one cycle of a regularly repeating phenomenon. An abrupt emphatic exclamation expressing emotion. The discharge of semen in males. The act of removing or getting rid of something. The bodily process of discharging waste matter. Analysis of a problem into alternative possibilities followed by the systematic rejection of unacceptable alternatives. The murder of a competitor. The act of removing an unknown mathematical quantity by combining equations. The monthly discharge of blood from the uterus of non-pregnant women from puberty to menopause. Archaic, a solvent. The bodily process of discharging waste matter. The act of removing the contents of something. The act of evacuating, leaving a place in an orderly fashion, especially for protection. The bodily process of discharging waste matter.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.